Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This one is a successor to my previous short video about how I finance my monthly premium. Some of what I'm covering here is based on the questions and comments from that video, so thank you very much for the feedback. I'm definitely taking it into account. This video, however, will be a full-length master guide to money making. We'll cover money making through market arbitrage, PvP, PvE, transporting, and crafting as well. So first off, we're going to start with market arbitrage. And basically all that is taking advantage of spreads, taking advantage of the impatience of other people, and profiting off of it. If it sounds immoral, it's not. We have a perfectly free market here in Albion, so don't feel bad. But before you start with market arbitrage, you will need a few things. Number one, I highly recommend getting premium. Really, this doesn't make sense without it because when you go to sell stuff, you have to pay 4% premium tax on top of a 2.5% setup fee. And with buying solar, you're going to be doing it both ways. So it's really going to cut into your profits and really makes it almost not worth it. So you're going to need some premium. So what I suggest is go up here to the crown to buy premium, then click on get premium. So you can either, I recommend 30 days. You can either buy it for cash, $15, or find one of these bundles over here. And these give you the same 30-day premium for the same $15 price tag, but you also get some gold and a skin. So you can choose whichever one of these you like the best. Now that 150 gold, that's going to be roughly 650, 700,000 silver, which is not a lot in the grand scheme, but for beginners, when you're first starting off, that is a ton of silver. So it really kickstarts your Albion experience, and it's not a bad deal. You need to buy premium initially. This is a good way to do it. And if you follow all of the tips and tricks that I'm going to teach you in this video, you'll never have to pay cash for premium again. You can just use your in-game silver, no problem. So, continuing market arbitrage. Before you get started, I recommend having 10 million or more silver. The reason for that is because you need to put in a lot of buy orders, uh, cover a lot of different items, and sometimes continually outbid your competitors. So in order to do that and not miss that silver and still be able to buy gear and continue to play the game, because this should all be going on in the background. This is not like your primary activity in Albion, right? PvP is like, that's what you're building towards. That should be the primary activity. But to finance it, market arbitrage really does a good job. So 10 mil silver will allow you to continue to buy those gear sets as you lose them and continually put in buy orders. And then finally, you'll just need to pick a city. You're going to be choosing one market and specializing in that market. And this is because each market and all the different cities, they are unique due to the crafting bonuses that correspond to each. So let's take a look at, we'll just look at Martlock, all right? The crafting bonuses here are axe, quarterstaff, frost staff, plate shoes. If you craft any of those, you get an extra 15% return on your resources. So, oh, this is key, hide 40%. So what does that mean? People are going to be transporting raw hide to Martlock, crafting it or refining it there, and then transporting it somewhere else to actually use that leather and craft it into something for more profits. We'll talk more about that later. But the bonuses are different, right? So let's look at Fort Sterling. Now they have a wood refining bonus of 40%, and their crafting bonuses are hammer, spear, holy staff, plate helmet. Completely different than the previous city. So these items here, hammers, spears, holy staff, plate helmet, they'll be very cheap in the city compared to the other cities because maybe people don't want to transport, right? They just crafted a whole bunch of holy staffs, for instance, and they just want to dump them, right? So there's going to be a whole lot of supply in these items and less demand. Now, personally, I have chosen Carleon as my focus for Albion, all of my Albion activities, because everything that I do, I can do from Carleon. So if I want to go to the Mists, you can do that out of the Red Zone, out of Carleon. If you want to do Corrupted Dungeons, you can go to any level of Corrupted Dungeon up to Slayer in the Red Zone from Carleon. You can get to the Roads of Avalon from Carleon. You can do solo dungeons out of Carleon with like T7 maps, for instance. You can do everything that you realistically need to do out of Carleon, plus all of those activities, you're going to have income from them. You're going to get loot. And then you have the black market as an option when you go to sell it. We'll talk more about that later. Basically, sometimes the black market is much, much better for things you want to sell. Sometimes it is not as good. So you need to know the difference. We will address that later. But for now, let's get deeper into market arbitrage and talk about what your first step is. Once you have your premium, your silver, and you've chosen the market that you want to focus on, I chose Carleon, then you need to find items to flip, right? So what is a good item to flip? Well, you need to find something that has a good spread. A spread is just a difference between the price that you would buy that item at and what you would sell that item at, because your profit is the difference. So you want there to be a large gap between the buy and the sell prices because that's just more potential profit. So in order to find the items that have that attractive spread, normally what I do is I either spend some time browsing the market while I'm waiting for an arena, or whenever I go and get loot, I go to sell it and then I check the spread and I just commit it to memory as I do this over and over and over. So here I'm just pretending that these are all items that I got in the mist, and now I'm coming to sell them, right? This is an example for y'all. So if I'm going to sell this bloodletter, I'm looking at several things. Number one, over the course of the past month, what is the price range? 120 to 100. Okay, we're exactly right in the middle, so that's not bad. So I'm just going to undercut that by a little bit, put in a sell order. But before I do, while I'm still on the screen, look at the spread. 110, 70. 40,000 silver spread. That's not fantastic. I'll show you later there are items with better spreads. So I would not mess with this one. It's not going to be worth your time. After you pay your tax, your setup fee, and then tax and setup fee again when you go to sell it, and maybe you don't get filled, maybe you get outbid. It's not going to be worth it, right? But for now, I'm going to make that sell order. Next up, broadsword. All right, now look at this. Almost 70,000 sell, 27,000 buy. Percentage-wise, that is a massive spread. It's almost triple. So for this, like I'm trying to sell it, but instead, boom, buy order, increase my bid by 1 silver, and there you go. Now I'm still going to go back and sell this because, again, I'm looking at the range 77 to 35. We're pretty much at the top of that range, so I'm comfortable selling that. Bean cowl. All right, so this is important because today we have a cloth helmet plus 20% daily production bonus. Fiend cowl is a cloth helmet. So that means there's going to be a lot of cloth helmets coming onto the market, and Fiend cowl is one of the best you can craft. So I need to be careful, right? The chances are, if I go and put this on the market, I could very well get outbid before someone buys it. So I'm actually not going to sell that today. I'm going to wait for a future date, okay? But let's look at the spread. 180,000 for your sell, 100,000 for your buy. That's a pretty good spread. And because of the daily crafting bonus, people are going to be selling these more often than they normally would. So if you put in a buy order, there's an increased chance of you getting that order filled and taking advantage of the spread because more people are selling more pink cows, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Put in a buy order, and if it fills, I make 80K minus the taxes instead of fees. All right, Hellion Hood. So look, 120, 60, that's a 100% spread. That's pretty good. That's worth the investment, right? But look at our range, 155 to 61. So, nah, we're pretty much right in the middle. I don't know, actually, because, so look here, 140, 120, someone undercut by 20K. I don't really like that. To be honest, I'm not going to sell it. I'll wait for these these orders to be burned through, and then I'll just undercut that by a little bit. So I'm actually going to hold off on that one. For the curse staff, all right, this is a very good spread. Again, it's more than double, right? You can buy for 40, sell for 89. The high is 100, the low is 70. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and sell that, but before I do, boom, I'll try to buy one more. Sell, There we go. Royal Sandals. Oof, would have been nice to sell there. But right now, this is a pretty good time to sell. All right, so the spread is double. For someone without a lot of money, this is probably a good item to try to arbitrage. Also because I mean we're pretty much leveled off at the base, so there's very low risk here, right? You buy a bunch of these at 17,000, they're not going to fall below that. Chances are, because looking back at our historical price, we're at the low. So there's really no risk here. I'm not going to worry about it because I'm not trying to make 17K at a time. But that's a good percentage, right? So it's very good for someone with a lower bankroll that's looking for a good percentage return. So I'm gonna go ahead and sell that. Mage Cal. All right, the price of these crashed like crazy after they nerfed them because they're worthless now. So I don't want to hold on to this. Just gonna sell it. And the spread is bad. 9,000, 11.8, bad spread. Not worth my time. Battle Bracers. Oh wow, I'm learning something here. What in the world? Estimated 135K. They were selling for 290. Who in their right mind pays 300K for a 4 point? Anyways, all right, but look at the spread. This is unbelievable. 56K to 220K. So that's a very good spread. But look at the volume. Over the past month, there have only been a total of 5 sold. So you're definitely this is a riskier item to arbitrage, I would say, but the spread is so good. Number one, I'm going to go ahead and try to sell it. I'm not asking this much because that's just, you have to be high out of your mind to pay 300K for a 4.3 battle racer. I'll just undercut this guy. Now, before I do, I'll put in a buy order. That's a great price. All right, Demonic Staff. So a few days ago, with the release of Nightfall, they buffed the Demonic Staff after crushing it and making it worthless. So the price has skyrocketed. So this is a good time to sell, right? And we're looking at a very good spread, more than double. So let's put in a buy order for one, and then I will sell this one. Cleric Robe. Not a good spread, roughly 50%. Not worth flipping. I'm going to put in the sell, and that's it. Mercenary Jacket. All right, this I've been holding on to it for a while because it's a weird item. There's no volume on it. The estimated value is 550, but here in Carleone, there just doesn't seem to be interest. The highest here is 400. So I'd have to decide, do I want to take a lot, like, is it worth transporting to a different city and trying to get that 550, right? I don't think it is. For me, like, I'm not into transporting. You can make money that way, but I think it's more annoying than it is beneficial. So I'm just going to throw it up for 420 because that's a nice round number, so to speak. Everybody likes 420, right? Hell yeah. Bridgewatch, Cape. Wow. All right, so the spread is good. I'm going to go ahead and put it in a buy order for one. Do I want to sell it here, though? I don't think so. It's pretty low. 125 is very low compared to 189, 150. Really, I would want to get about 150 for this. You can see it gapped from 190 to 131. It's really unnecessary to take this price, so I'm just going to wait for later. Undead Cape. 322, the absolute highest. 250 buy. So this is not a good item to arbitrage because you have to invest a lot. You have to put in a quarter mil for a buy order. You're only going to make max 60 mil. That's not a good spread. Too much investment up front. Not worth flipping, right? Another thing important to mention is I've been doing the new dungeons, right? Nightfall Abbeys. I keep getting the components for this cape, the Undead Crest, so I think the price is going to fall slowly, maybe, but I think over time the price is going to fall. So I am trying to get rid of my Undead Capes the moment I get them. So I'm not going to put in a buy order. I'm going to go ahead and sell that. So that gives you a pretty good idea of how to select items for arbitrage and how to find items with good spreads. But oftentimes there is a further opportunity to make even more money by upgrading the items that you buy through buy orders with runes, souls, or relics. So I'm going to show you that process. Let's start with this T6 miscaller, right? I paid 40K for it. The estimated market value is 80. Now, if I go to actually sell it, all right, it's going for, there is no competition for sell orders. So theoretically, I can ask whatever I want. To determine what I'm actually going to ask, let's look at the range, 120 to 40. The average price is 80, right? So I'm probably going to be asking about 80. But let's take it one step further. What if I upgrade it to 6.1? Then I can get 145, okay? So instead of buying for 40, selling for 80, and getting a 40K total profit, let's see if it cost me 48 Master's Runes, which are worth 10K. That would bring my total cost to 50K, right? So let's go sell 6.1. 50K minus, even if I sold it for 140K, minus 50K, I'm looking at a 90,000 silver profit. So I have more than doubled my initial profit by just upgrading it with runes that I already have. If you don't have runes, you'll have to buy them. Also, there are ways to get runes very, very cheap. Runes, souls, and relics, I'll show you that later. For now, let's look at our next item. Miscaller, we already know. So I already know this sells for estimated market value is 120, but it's actually selling for even more than that, right? But let's look at enchantment 2. Now you can get 230K, all right? Yeah, it's selling pretty consistently for 250 to 30. So let's see if it's worth upgrading. Let's see if it's worth that investment. Cost 48 soul runes to upgrade that. So we'll split that off. That would cost, let's just say 55K for relatively round math, right? So this cost me 50K to buy. I already forgot. All right, so 55K for the souls. It cost me 55K to buy it initially. That brings the total investment to 105,000 silver. If I go sell it for one, nope, it'll be two. If I go sell it for, let's say, I think I could, let's just say 230. 230 minus 110, it's 120,000 silver profit. What was my initial profit? 120, right? So if it's worth 120, I paid 50. My profit was 70. But now I can make 120 if I upgrade it with souls. So I'm going to do that. I'll do that later. Let's look at now what happens if we upgrade it to 6.3. Now it's going for 600K and they are selling like hotcakes at that price. Okay, well, what are 48 T6 relics worth? 130K. That's actually not the accurate price because if you go to sell these, they're going for much, much more than the market price is actually showing. We'll get into that more later. I'm going to commit a whole section to that because T6 relics, you can make a lot of money off of these. But, all right, let's just round that up to 150K. Costs 150K. So now, what if we take this T6 miscaller for 80K? We add T6 runes for another 10K. We're at 90. We add T6 souls for another 55K. We're at 145K. We add T6 relics for another 150K. Let's just round that up. 300K, okay? We're at a 300,000 silver investment. What do they sell for? 600,000. You can make 300K, and it only cost you that initial 40,000 silver investment for the T6 miscaller, right? So I wanted to show you this item specifically to show how even with just little money, if you understand items, prices, how the market works, the spreads, you can take a little 40K investment. I mean, okay, you need to go do some solo dungeons and get the rune souls and relics or acquire them through the market. But even then, 50K plus, the extra, like, it's a very small investment to make 200K. You're more than doubling your money, and most of that is risk free. You're not even paying taxes on a lot of it. So this is a very good method, but let's look at some more items. Calipurity, all right. I bought that because the price has been, or well, it was supposed to get buffed, and I anticipated that the price would go up. So let's take a look. Calipurity. Boom, check out that trend. Steady upward. So I'm going to continue buying these. Put in another buy order. Every time I get filled, I put in another buy order because I think they're going to get more popular until eventually it'll reach a breaking point, but I don't think we're there yet. Do I want to sell that? I mean, I can make, it cost me 55K. I could triple my profit. Yeah, let's go ahead and try to sell that. All right, next item. Hellion jacket. I paid 120. It's worth 240, but I think it's worth more in actual. Okay, 300K. So I don't really use these, so I'm just going to go ahead and try to take that profit immediately. Go ahead and put it up for sale. You know what? Make it a little more attractive for someone. I'll just ask 295. That'll be 175,000 silver profit minus taxes, at least 150K. That's a pretty good deal. Next item. Soldier boots. 13K. They're worth, more than double that. The reason I bought these, though, is because I want to do the same thing with these as I did with the mist collar. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly put in another buy order for another pair. But, all right, so what if we upgrade to 6.1? The value goes up significantly. Goes up by, what, 25K? Costs 10K for the runes, so we're going to upgrade that. What if we go to 0.2? It goes from 65K to 200K. That's 135K. What do the souls cost? 53K. Okay. What if we go to 0.3? Okay, now it goes up another. All right, so let's say 150K for the souls, 200K. Let's just say 250K for super conservative, quick math. If we pay 250K and you can sell them for 350, we make 100K profit. That would be worth it, so I will be upgrading these boots. Next item, Great Axe. So these flat 4, flat 5 masterpiece items, this is probably the best entry for someone that doesn't have a big bankroll if you want to start doing this market arbitrage, because like I paid 10K for that. You can bid even less, but then you can already sell it for 40K. That's like a 300+% profit, but let's look at upgrading it. All right, so I would probably try to sell that for like 55K. I paid 10K. It costs 200 runes or 192 runes to upgrade that. That is, for rough math, we're going to round that to 10K. Cost me 10K, 10K to upgrade, that's 20K. I can sell it for 55. Yes, I'm going to upgrade it and sell it for more. Just want to show you a few more items here that will be good to upgrade for more money, and then I'll show you one or two that are not profitable, and so that you can know to be careful and watch out. Let's look at this mage robe, right? 7K. Let's see if I go to sell it. All right, so already tripling my money. Put in another buy order real quick. If I upgrade to 0.1, now it goes from 20 to 40, and you're making more profit. 0.2, I'm not even going to do the math. You're making a little more profit. It's nothing crazy. 0.3, though, look at this. Selling consistently, 220, even 250. So I think 5.3 is what we're going to be looking at here. So if we upgrade with runes, it costs 96 to upgrade a chest piece. We're going to call that 5K. For the souls, we're going to call that 30. Now we're at 35K. What about the relics? An additional 120, we're going to call that. So 535, 155 plus our initial 10, we're at 160. You can sell it for, let's say 210, because that would make you a perfect, nice, even 50K profit. That's pretty good for your initial 7K, 7K investment. So that's going to be a good one. Again, I want to point out all of these items that I'm showing you that are very good to upgrade with runes, relics, and souls. They're all masterpiece, right? So that is the trend. If you want to find profitable items to upgrade, look at masterpiece. Sometimes excellent works as well, but masterpiece is always the best. Let's look now at Sandals of Purity. I paid 300. They're worth double that. So I'm already looking at a very nice profit. Again, I can sell for 600, but I can only upgrade this once, right? So let's look at 7.3. It's worth 1.15 mil. So let's check the value of T7 souls. 48 of those are worth, let's round that to 450 just to make sure. So I paid 300. You add 450, that's a total of 750K. I can sell for 1.15, so I would be looking at a 400K profit. Totally worth. I will upgrade them. Actually, I think I'm going to keep those because I need them for arenas, but it would be a very nice profit if I was going to sell them. Now, quickly, let's look at an item that will not be good to upgrade. Let's check out this Lyrian Cane right here. So I paid 116K. I can already sell it for 350. 350 would be a nice safe, and I'd make 250K. That's pretty good. 250% profit, right? But let's look at upgrading that to 0.3. So I'd have to outbid this guy for 550. So if I sell the 0.2 for 350, 550, I'm only getting another 200K. It costs 400K to upgrade it with relics. So I would be losing 200K on that, and that would be stupid. So I'm not going to do that. So here's kind of the point I want to make here. With Masterpiece, tier 4, 5, and 6, you can always make profit on that. By the time you start getting to tier 7 and tier 8, it becomes harder. You're going to find fewer opportunities to make more profit by upgrading items. And that's just because these relics are very expensive, but that is based off of using them to upgrade like meta masterpiece items. So if you're using high tier relics to upgrade non-meta, non-masterpiece items, you're always going to be taking a loss, so just don't bother. Stick with tier 4, 5, and 6. That is going to be your bread and butter. So now that you know how to pick the right items for arbitrage and how to increase your profits by upgrading those items, it's time to introduce part 3, how to further increase your profits by minimizing the cost of your materials. Now remember when we were talking about this mist collar, you upgraded with rune souls and relics. Well, the most expensive part was the relics, right? Estimated market value 130 for this stack. It would be more like 150 because, again, the estimated market price is off and they're actually worth 35.55 is the buy now, but I've been selling them for 4,000. So to me, right now, these have a value of 4,000. So I'm going to be using that number when I do math, right? What if I told you you can buy these relics for half that price? Well, it's not impossible. Because look at this. These relics, it takes 50 relics to make this artifact, but when you break down the artifact, you get 1/5 of that, so you would get 10 relics. So the price of 10 relics is 40,000. But I'm paying 20,000 for the buy orders, right? So you just have to keep putting in those buy orders consistently because people will consistently outbid you. But this is how you get the relics much, much cheaper. There's a whole bunch that you can choose from here. These are all relic artifacts that are not worth much, and the only value is the actual relics that break down from them. So that's what you should be putting those buy orders in for. Now for some of these artifacts, you'll have to pay a little bit more than 20k, and the price is consistently going up. So I think I showed you the cheapest one first, but 22k right now is what you can buy for, so you'd be saving a lot of money. But relic, the prices continue to go up, so by the time you see this video and try to do this yourself, I don't know what the price will be. They're quickly changing. But let's go take a look at what it looks like to break down, because I have a whole inventory of these, so I'll just show you that it's instant profit when you go and break them down. So you just go to the repair guy, go to salvage, and you're going to, all right, so 4.64 mil turns into 4.82. 4.82 turns into 5.09. But remember, so that's estimating at 2.68k each. Well, I'm selling them for 4,000. So if the market price was correctly depicting the actual current market value, then I would have made, a mil or two, something like that, just quickly by dismantling those. So let's go ahead and redo that math. Remember, our T6 Masterpiece Mistcaller cost 40k. We add 10k, that brings us to 50, plus 60 brings us to 110, plus 150 brings us to 260. We sell it for 600, we're making over 300k, a little over 300k, right? That was the old math. The new math, 40k for the T6 Mistcaller, plus 10, 50, plus 60, 110, plus 75 because we're having the 150, and now we're at 185. So now if we sell for 600 minus 185, we make over 400k. We improved our profit by over 100k just by reducing the cost of our upgrade materials. So now I'd like to talk about the black market, because this is a nice little side hustle that you could potentially use to increase your profit just a little bit more. So the black market is pretty much the system that SBI designed to distribute gear all across Albion to people through the form of loot. So whatever drop you're getting, it's coming from the black market. Now, some things you can sell to the black market for more than the normal market, but some things the black market will not buy at all. For example, mounts and gathering gear, absolutely they will not buy it. Let's try to sell this frost ram. No one's currently buying. There's no record. No one ever buys that. Gathering gear, same thing. No trades. No trades. So don't sell those items here. There are a few others that the black market will not buy as well. But then there are some. Or well, first, you also don't want to sell artifact gear, artifact weapons, or faction gear or weapons, royal gear or weapons, and meta items. Those are the items that you do not want to sell in the black market. Everything else, you will probably make a profit in the black market, especially if you're selling high tier non-meta gear. For example, the other day I got an 8.2 Camlin mace. No one in their life has ever used an 8.2 Camlin mace, so you don't get a good price if you sell it in the market. The black market, though, I got a premium, so that was definitely a good item to sell. The black market also pays guaranteed premiums on satchels and high-tier, low-volume faction capes, though for the most part, faction capes are better to sell in the normal market. So let's just experiment. Try to sell these Raven Strikes. All right, well, I happen to know that they're going for like 70k plus in the market, so I'm not going to sell them here. Battle bracers, abso-freaking-lutely. So we're estimating 150 or 30k each. Yeah, I'm gonna undercut that because that is much, much better than selling in the normal market. Demonic staves, these are selling for more than 40k, so I'm not gonna sell those here. Frost staff, estimated 45. I think those are selling for like 70k actually in the normal market right now. So I'm gonna hold off on that as well. How about the redemption? Okay. So it's quoting us 33 for 2 redemption stats, but we can get that for 1 here. So absolutely, I'm going to take that sell. Bean cow, this is a high demand item. It's also an artifact item. So you're never going to be able to sell it here for a good price. Better sell it in the normal market. Royal cow, again, royal weapons and, royal gear. You want to sell in the normal market. It does not sell well here. Mage cow, wow. These are about 10K in the normal market, so I mean, it's a toss-up. If you want to make the jog over there, I'm going there anyway, so I'll just sell it there. And then, of course, hunter hoods. These are high demand. Everyone uses hunter hoods, so it's better to just sell those in the normal market. Normal market, normal market. Here's a faction cape. Yeah, definitely don't want to sell a masterpiece cape for that. That's going to go to the normal market. So there you go. Those are some good examples of how to use the black market and how to avoid it when it does not make sense. The next money-making method I would like to address is PvE, which entails fighting non-player mobs for fame and loot. If you have not yet made enough money to arbitrage efficiently, I recommend incorporating a good deal of PvE into your daily routine. It will help familiarize you with your choice of weapons and help you spec them up as well. For PvE, you can choose between solo dungeons, killing open world mobs, doing so in the Ava Roads, or visiting the Mists. Solo dungeons are often a top choice for newer players, as they are the safest method of engaging in PvE. You can wait at the entrance to the dungeons for 90 seconds to ensure that they close behind you, eliminating the chance of getting dived. Then the only threat is getting ganked between dungeons. If you are going to go the solo dungeon route and can afford the maps, I recommend T7 maps out of Carleon. This method will allow you to fight the highest tier mobs available in the Royal Zone without having to visit the most dangerous and most often ganked T7 zones. They cost about 15k each with buy orders, and the extra loot from the mob or loot enhancement often exceeds the cost of the map. You also have the option to faction flag before running your solos to increase your silver per hour, though this makes you vulnerable to other players who are faction flagged. If you're willing to take a little more risk in exchange for better loot and much better fame per hour, you may consider killing open world mobs in the Black Zone. This will roughly triple your fame per hour compared to solo dungeons if you can sidestep harassment. Be aware that T8 zones in the Black Zone are highly ganked, so although they offer the best fame per hour in theory, T7 zones are safer and overall a better looting and faming experience. You will encounter inescapable situations in the Black Zone from time to time, so make sure you only bring gear you're willing to lose, and bank your loot when it starts to be significant. Loot from open world mobs is very hit or miss. Sometimes mobs drop nothing but a small amount of silver, while I have also received items up to 8.2 on exceedingly rare occasions. Now I have to briefly mention Ava Roads. This activity is the absolute worst silver per hour imaginable, so don't do this if you're expecting to make silver. It's a very risky way to earn decent fame, and really nothing beyond that. Finally, we have the Mists, which you can enter by finding a wisp in the open world and channeling in. In the Mists, PvE and PvP begin to come together in a beautiful way, especially with the recent release of Nightfall Abbey. The Mists are my favorite content in Albion, and at this point I pretty much live there. They offer a variety of ways to spec up your gear in a profitable way, while also offering the potential for PvP engagements if you are looking for that. The Mists become better content the higher spec you have, so your experience will continually improve as you grow your account. This is because your risk to reward ratio increases with higher spec. When I go to the Mists, I only bring T6 gear, but I am able to fight up to 6.3 with success by carefully choosing my fights. I'll leave a link in the description to my Battleaxe guide in case you'd like more insight on how I do this. Early on, you may want to focus on clearing mobs in the open expanse of the Mists. This offers good fame and good income and helps you build your Brazilian reputation if you channel these things that I'm just going to call tethered balloons. Crystal spiderlings are another source of silver income and excellent fame as well. Honestly, they represent probably a quarter of the silver that I make in the Mists and reward roughly 175,000 fame with premium. Be careful with the spiders though, as you will take significant damage over time, leaving you vulnerable to ganks. You can mitigate this to an extent by learning the mechanics, dodging the skill shots, and using percentage healing food for the fight. From time to time, small chests will spawn in the Mists. These chests, on average, contain excellent loot for solo players, so it is worth fighting for them. If you are lucky to find a rare chest, you should expect about 500,000 silver or so, and a legendary should be 1 mil plus. Orb running is another possible source of income in the Mists, though it leaves you mountless and therefore very vulnerable. It involves running an orb to a target location and depositing it there. This awards fame, might, and favor, which may be exchanged for more fame, Conqueror's chests, or other rewards at the energy manipulator. If you choose to do this, make sure to bring highly mobile gear such as a double-bladed staff or bloodletter, or be willing to fight to the death in whatever you are wearing. The best part of the Mist are the recently released Nightfall Abbey dungeons. They offer incredibly good PvE fame, very good loot, and PvP opportunities. Typically, you'll spend about 15 minutes in one of these dungeons. Roughly 5 minutes in, a small chest spawns on a 5-minute timer, and you can decide whether to contest it or not. Once the chest is looted, everyone is given a further 5 minutes before the dungeon closes. Collecting 500,000 silver and 500,000 fame in this span of time is about average, while one lucky chest could easily put you over 1,000,000 silver. Here are a few helpful tips and tricks that will help you find value in the abbeys. So as soon as you enter the dungeon, you can press N to open up this minimap here. What I want to show you is the absolute best way to maximize your time here so that you know what you're getting into and you can find PvP scenarios if you want that, or you can avoid them. So right here in the middle of the map, this is where the juiciest parts are. Right here, there is a room with a bunch of mobs and double chests or double buffs, whichever it happens to be. You'll see a lot of action there. And then again, right here, there's another room with double chest or double buff. Double chest, double buff, double chest, double buff, double chest, double buff, double chest, double buff, double chest, double buff. And I think there's one in here somewhere that I'm missing as well. And I think these actually may be double buffs as well. So the reason I mention that is there's a lot of action in the middle of the map. If you want PvP, then make sure you are in the middle of the map. If you do not want PvP, then stay on the outskirts, right? Stay around here and maybe even avoid the double chest because people seem to gravitate that way. Other than that, 5 minutes in, a chest will spawn. It'll usually be somewhere roughly in the middle. You'll have 5 minutes to prepare for that. And then along the way, sometimes small caches will spawn. They're usually right around here or right around here. So again, in the middle of the map. So I've shown you the PvP hotspots. If you don't want PvP, avoid those areas. If you do, check out those areas. It's totally up to you. You still make a good amount of income just by killing the mobs. They all drop silver, a couple thousand silver here and there. The chests are pretty good loot as long as they're not green. And overall, you're going to make a lot of money in Nightfall Abbey, get a lot of fame, and it's really, really good content. Since we've basically already transitioned to money making through PvP, I'll just continue talking about that. Again, my go-to moneymaker is the Mists, or Abbey Dungeons. The PvE aspect alone is lucrative, but the real profit comes from PvP. Nowhere else in Albion will you have a real opportunity to kill an 8.3 or 8.4 player with low risk. People complain constantly about how these IP crutchers ruin the Mist, or that there should be a soft IP cap, but these high IP players are exactly what make the Mists so exciting. If you take away the 8.4s, you remove the biggest carrot. And as much as everyone hates rats, they actually regulate the IP crutchers as their biggest threat. The 8.4s, the rats, and the average players in between check and balance each other perfectly in the Mist to create the most dynamic content that Albion has to offer. The real challenge is mastering the psychology of how these groups interact with each other so that you can derive the highest income without taking exorbitant risk. Your actual silver per hour in the Mists is determined by how well you do this, and that skill set only comes with experience. For this reason, it's impossible to put a number on expected silver per hour in the Mists. Don't let the learning curve deter you from mastering this environment. It will be worth it long term, even if it costs you dozens of gear sets near term. If you aren't ready for the Mist just yet, there are other options for earning silver through PvP. Corrupted dungeons are a good option for pure, rat-free 1v1 matchups, though your PvP loot is generally your only reliable source of silver. The loot from chests was nerfed pretty harshly, so it isn't as lucrative anymore unless you are top 10% or so infamy. The main deterrent to corrupted dungeons for me is being locked into the environment and being forced to fight your opponent, even if they directly counter you. In the Mist, you could simply choose to avoid that particular fight and still be surrounded by much better ways of earning silver. 2v2 Hellgates are a great way to hone your PvP skills while making some good silver. With high spec, you can generally wear just 4.2 and be in a level playing field with your opponent, so it's less about IP and more about skill matchup. With low risk, the juicy chests that can be opened after a victory will always pay off over time, even while taking losses into account. Most artifacts are on the loot table for these chests, so with incredible luck, you could get a 9 mil T8 Crypt Candle artifact or something similar. Finally, you could try your hand at solo ganking, though this is actually riskier than fighting through the mists if you're ganking high value targets. This is because certain ganking equipment is required to dismount players, and ganking equipment is generally weak 1v1. Plus, you will have a massive cooldown disadvantage after a dismount. The resulting decision is either to gank weaker, low-value targets or rely heavily on the element of surprise and hope for the best. Both poor strategies. Also, you may notice that I don't mention gathering in this guide. That's because it's incredibly grindy and not worth the time investment. At T8 high spec, you can make a good deal of income from gathering, but it never tops the potential income of a good PvPer, and I find it boring. If you would like to pursue it as a relaxing hobby, then by all means. I just don't personally find it rewarding. Now let's go ahead and shift gears into something a lot more chill. We'll talk about transporting. This can be a useful method to make money, especially early on. But even early on, you will still need a mount to get started. So let's talk about that first. If you want the most basic mount for transporting, I recommend something like a T6 Transport Ox. That's going to increase your max load by 1,651 kilograms, which is significant. This will allow you to move things between cities and start making money. The downfall of the Transport Ox is they are pretty slow. The max movement speed bonus at gallop speed is 90%, so they are slow. If you want to step up, let's look at the Elite Winter Bear. This is going to be markedly more expensive, almost 3.5 mil, but double the mount health, which is important if you're going to be potentially in combat, but it also has almost double the max load. So this will double your efficiency, and the speed is the same. So consider the Elite Winter Bear when you're in the intermediate stage of transporting. And then finally, your ultimate goal, if you're really going to get into transporting, then eventually you're going to want to get a transport mammoth. These things on the market are about 150 mil. Off the market, you can buy just face-to-face trading with players significantly cheaper, but they are expensive because check out that max load, 24,600 kilograms. That's roughly 10 times what your winter bear would be able to. It's more than 10 times what the transport ox was carrying. So that will increase your efficiency drastically. So this is probably your ultimate goal. Now for an additional option, this it doesn't carry particularly too much. The courier only gives you 1203 extra max load, but the dire boar is at least pretty fast, plus 115% movement speed. So that's an extra 25 versus either the transport ox or the elite winter bear. And it also has this buff which makes you invisible for 5 seconds. So again, this is really only useful in an environment when you're transporting through a dangerous zone. It could be an escape mechanism. Otherwise, this mount is pretty much worthless and you want to stick with one of the other three. Now, if you elect to transport through a dangerous zone, then I highly recommend taking a mobility set with you. That's what you're looking at here. For mobility, we have our Bloodletter with Deadly Swipe, Dash, and then the E lunging stabs give you more mobility. The passives are fairly useless, so don't worry about that. For our armor, we're going to use Assassin Jacket with Ambush. That's going to give you up to 8 seconds worth of invisibility. However, you are range limited. You can only move 14 meters away from the cast location. So it's a good idea to use this as your very first invisibility and try to bait out the spell that the gankers are going to have that can reveal you in your invisibility. That will enable you to get full value out of your invisibility potion, which lasts for 7 seconds and is not range limited. Then, as a third invisibility, you have your Undead Cave, which is not useful until you're below 17% health, but you can use that with your Mist Walker Hood to go invis and then go immortal. And then you can be, immortal for 5 seconds and invisible. That could be pretty useful, especially if you've already burned your opponent's capability to reveal you. For your boots, just use the highest tier boots you have, and of course you're going to use Courier. Your Courier will increase your max load the higher tier boots you wear, so that's why you wear high tier boots. For offhand, use a miscaller if you're using bloodletter, that is. This gives you cooldown so that you can just cycle through all of your mobility faster. For food, use something like a pork pie. This gives you an extra 30% max load so you can transport more. So now that you have the gear to physically do transporting, let's talk theory. So basically, as a transporter, your job is to satisfy demand. Your job is to figure out what people need, where they need it, and then bring it there for a profit. So typically this means delivering raw materials or refined materials to royal cities, or bringing items to the black market that sell well there from other royal cities. So as an example, let's check out Martlock. The bonus is here, plus 40% hide. So that means there's a lot of demand for hide in Martlock. So you could certainly make a profit transporting hide to Martlock. And then in Martlock, people are going to be refining hide to get that bonus. So that means leather is going to be available. So buy some leather while you're there and then transport it to somewhere it is in high demand. The only place I know of that has a crafting bonus for leather is Limhurst. They have leather helmet plus 15%. So you could, in theory, transport between the two, bring hide here, leather here, and just do that back and forth. However, let's look at the route. The shortest route takes you through all these hot red zones, so that's very dangerous. You can take the longer route and go around, but that is significantly further, and I think very few people want to do that. That's a long trip. Now, I've never done this, but maybe you can make a lot of money doing it because not many people make that trip. I don't know. You can test that out for yourself. Let's look at a second example that actually makes much more sense. This is Fort Sterling. They have a 40% wood production bonus. That works in tandem with the Limhurst bonus. They have a 15% bonus for bows. Bows require planks. If you refine logs, you get planks. So they're useful in Limhurst. So you could trade between the two, deliver logs to Fort Sterling, buy the planks cheaply there, bring them back to Limhurst. Do this on repeat, and the good news is you can do this safely. There's a yellow or blue route that goes all the way between the two. There's no need to go into the red zone. There's no need for the danger. You can do it safely. Now, if you are willing to take the risk and you are willing to brave the red zones, then you can make a little bit more money transporting from royal cities to the black market in Carleon. My favorite route for doing this is from Limhurst to Carleon. You go Limhurst, Yewood, Hornbeam, Deep Root, Gold Shimmer, Merkveld, Wire, Carleon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 zones. That's not too bad. Only 2 of them are red. Just be very careful in Merkveld. Normally, if you're going to die somewhere, this is where it's going to be. I'm not too familiar which items are best to transport to Black Market, but the one off the top of my head that I know is good is satchels. So may as well start putting in your buy orders for satchels now, and whenever you get build up on those, run them over to Carleon. Now, I have to touch on crafting because if I don't, someone in the comments is going to be like, bro, crafting is one of the best money makers. You can make an absolute fortune so fast. And it's not really true. I mean, if you already have a maxed crafting tree, then yes, you can make money very quickly. It's just that the process of getting there, it's a long process. And until you get there, you don't really make any money. The way you make money, like serious money with crafting, is by maxing an entire crafting tree and then crafting 8.4 until you get masterpiece. Because so the more you craft within this tree, it increases the quality of all of the items within that tree that you craft. So that increases the odds of you getting masterpiece. Now the difference in price between Omniscript Candle for an example, because it's a very good example. For 8.4, it's like 15 mil. But then if you go masterpiece, well, suddenly it's 130, maybe 125. So it's almost 10 times as valuable if you get lucky and you get that masterpiece script candle. So that's how you make a fortune with crafting. You have to craft 8.4 in mass until you get very lucky. I don't really like that approach. I also don't have the ability. I don't have any trees maxed. So for me, it's not really an option. And I think for most of you, it's not really an option. So this takes low priority in my book for money making. But there are some ways to make money crafting easily and without even needing any kind of prerequisites. The easiest way is to just use your focus. Now, my focus is maxed at 30,000. That's because I'm stupid. You should never let this max because it's pretty much free money. You can use focus to basically give you a rebate on the items that you craft. I'll show you what I mean. So here I am at the Warrior's Forge. That's where you craft battle bracers, which is what I want to craft. So here I've already selected what I want to craft. I go to point 2 because that's what materials I have. Now you'll notice it says my resource return rate is 25% or almost. That's because of the bonuses that are native to crafting this item here in Carleone. But look, if I go click on focus, it almost doubles the return rate because crafting with focus increases resource return rate and increases the chance to produce a higher quality item. While you have premium active, focus recovers over time when you are offline. So that's why you want to make sure that you use your focus when it's available because it is valuable. It's worth money. It'll give you higher quality items, which means they're worth more, and it'll give you a return on your resources. Looking over here, the leather is worth 28k, the bars are worth 12, so 40k. Let's go ahead and craft this and see how much it returns to us. All right, so I got the lowest quality battle bracer. That is unfortunate. But you notice the market value, like we still increased the value of our holdings because it returned 14,000 worth of leather and 6,000. So basically we got 50% back just by using focus and taking advantage of the bonus here in Carleone. Now I could have taken it a step further and wait for a daily production bonus that would benefit the battle bracers. And that is what I recommend doing if you want to maximize your profit with crafting. Wait until you have all the materials, you have plenty of focus, and there is a daily production bonus that works in your favor. If you align all three of those, you can make easy money with crafting without any prerequisites. So that's pretty dope, actually. Well, if you guys made it this far in the video, you are, by God, legends. Thanks for hanging in there. In closing, I would like to say yes. I have a PvP bias. I am well aware of it. But PvP is so much fun. That's what this game is all about. That's what the game is built around. It's a full loot PvP game. So I'm trying to urge people in that direction, but by God, it's for your own good. So this video is basically intended to help you build your bankroll so that you can move into PvP and replenish those gear sets as you lose them, because that's part of the learning process. So hopefully I achieved that. If I did, let me know. I would like to hear it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found value. And until the next video, take care, y'all.